Hi everybody, it's Mark here, and I've just come on today to answer a hashtag that was put out by my friend Ben of Beneficial Tarot. He got it from somewhere else. I'm not sure who the originator of it is, but it's hashtag tarot to the extremes. And what I'll be doing is I'll be going through a 7-point system here where I'll be comparing extremes of possibilities within my tarot decks. So the very first one is Minimalist versus Maximalist. So I guess that has to do with the simplicity perhaps of the image and the deck, or its opposite, a complex deck in terms of its imagery. So of course for minimal I could have really cheated and just pulled up one of my Marseille decks with all that pip action. They're always minimal, but I thought I would work a little harder than that for you, and so for my minimal deck I picked the Sheridan Douglas deck. And the reason I chose this deck is that the images are very simple. Backgrounds are non-existent, except they can be any color. And there's usually no more than 2 or 3 colors per card going on. There's even some kind of pip-esque action, but it's not a Marseille deck as I've demonstrated in the past. But you can see how simple the images are. Bold colors, but very few of them used per card to get the message across. So that would be my minimalist deck. As to my maximalist deck, I've chosen the Voyager Tarot. Now, I don't have the box anymore, so I can't show you the box, but I think we all know what the Voyager Tarot is. And it's this deck here with tons of imagery. It's a collage deck, and there's like all kinds of things going on in each card. So yeah, it can take forever to really pinpoint everything in the image, and often in a reading something will come up. Maybe I'll notice this bit of soil and this bit of sprout here, whereas in another reading I might notice more the ram's head or whatnot. There's plenty to choose from in the image. Because it is a maximalist deck, I tend to keep it to 1 to 3 card readings at a maximum. So there is definitely a maximum deck for you. So the next is daytime versus nighttime, number 2. So that was kind of, I don't have a lot of decks to choose from, so I didn't want to repeat too much on this list. And daytime versus nighttime, I wasn't quite sure what that was all about, but I decided to use for daytime the Fountain Tarot. Most people know this deck. It's very light and airy in its imagery, and there just seems to be a daytime vibe in these cards. They seem to be in a sort of a misty sky sort of place. And there's not a lot of dark cards in the deck. Dark in terms of coloring, they're all quite light, if not light in their meanings. And so this was my choice for a daytime deck. I think it makes a good example of that. For my nighttime deck, I chose the Prisma Visions Tarot. And besides the fact that the card's style, the art style, reminds me very much of Van Gogh and his Starry Starry Nights, but also the cards themselves, they have a dark border. Many of the images seem to be happening at night, or even when it's day, or seems to be day. We're sort of in this dark forested situation. So yeah, if I don't mean dark in terms of dark energy, but I guess for the light to show so strongly in the cards, we have to have the contrast of darkness. So yeah, this would be my choice for a darker nighttime type of deck. Okay, that's that one. The next one is number 3, best versus worst shuffle. So the best shuffle for me would be any deck with a linen cardstock. That's like the Slow Tarot, the Fifth Spirit Tarot, and this Sasser Ibito Tarot, the Tiny Traveler. And the reason why this one beat out the two that I just mentioned is its size. So for me, that makes it even easier to shuffle. It's the best riffle shuffle going, and it has a really nice rubbery, linen-y texture. Not quite the linen of the other two decks I mentioned. It's sort of got its own vibe, but it really shuffles like a dream, and so I really have to go with that one. And the fact that it easily fits in your hand makes the riffle shuffling all the much easier. I really do like to riffle shuffle. So for the worst shuffler, I'm sorry, but I have to repeat my Maximalist deck, and that is, it's also Maximalist in size, very cardboardy, really impossible to riffle shuffle a deck of this size. So that would be my answer for that one. Next, we go on to number 4, Confronting versus Comforting. Well, I'm not that person that has a lot of confronting decks. I don't really like dark imagery. I don't like it really light either, but I'm not really drawn to some of these confronting decks. I had the Marielle for a while and I passed it on. I had the Barbara Walker, and it was just too much, too intense, too something for me, too confronting. I guess that is a good word. So it was difficult for me to come up with a deck that I would consider confronting, but I decided to go with the Thoth, and I don't mean to poop on the Thoth again, but in terms of confronting, I would have to say of the decks I own, this would be the one. I mean, we have a penis and testicles on the devil card. So there's that. Queen of Swords has just carved off this head or mask or something. Some real lust, nudity action going on there. And then, blood-dripped swords. And also the keywords, cruelty. When something is confrontive, especially when it's a challenging card, you really get it between the eyes, like this debauch and all this nauseous, bilious green drippings going on in the background. Keywords like oppression or failure, sorry, you lose. It's confronting. That doesn't mean it doesn't give good reads or very accurate reads or maybe too honest reads. Now for comforting, I've chosen the Connolly Tarot deck. This is the original vintage version. Colors are a little nicer in this version. And I consider this one comforting because there's a lot of bright colors, particularly beautiful sky imagery going on in the cards. So there's a lightness, generally speaking, in terms of what you're looking at. I mean, even the Disaster's Five of Pentacles has got some beauty going on there in that sunset sky. And also the creator has chosen to soften some of the harder cards, like Death has become the transition, the Devil is materialism. Occasionally she uses cupids or angels or little babies to sort of soften things up. So that would definitely be my most comforting. You're not going to get any really harsh in-your-face cards, but it still reads very well, I have to say. Every day versus every so often is number 5, and I have the same everyday deck, or I chose the same everyday deck as did Ben, and that is the Morgan Greer, because it's very RWS, so it's very easy to read, but the cards are bold and really focused on what's important about that card. You really get the message. It has no borders. There's no cards I actively dislike. It's very traditional in a way, the great 70s vibe we all love, but it's very traditional as well. So this would be the deck I would, let's say if I was to read in public or at a party or at a bar or something for the general public, I would want to stick to a very traditional deck like this, so I don't get lost trying to come up with meanings of the cards. It's all very clear for you. Now, the every so often deck is a deck I really don't see anywhere on anyone's channel or anyone ever talking about it. It was gifted to me by my friend Eric, and quite a while ago. This was maybe one of the first decks when I started getting back into tarot 6 years ago that I came across or was gifted. And it's called the Cook's Tarot, and by the title you get an idea that it sort of revolves around cooking and food, these types of homey things. I have a sun sign in Cancer, so I guess I find that appealing. I do like the art style as well. The cards are big, they're borderless. You can see the food thing happening in every single card. But there's also some nice diversity in the deck with people of color. We have same-sex couples. And here's our Knight of Swords cooking up a storm, literally. So you still get the meaning of the card as we know it, but these sort of this food imagery or cooking imagery is kind of folded in. But because it is so much around that food theme, I don't reach for it very often. But it reads very well. It sticks very close to the RWS. And here's our Emperor. He's the head guy at the barbecue. But it's a little too off-center for me to really choose actively on a regular basis. Now we come to number 6, overrated versus underrated. Okay, here we go. Here's Mark. He's bashing this deck again, and I don't mean to, because I do love the deck, and it's where everything started for me and for most people, and it is the Rider-Waite. Here's my bashed up original 1971 version of the deck, and it's not because I dislike Pixie's imagery or anything like that. I honor it as the deck that, really started everything again in the 70s. And it deserves all its accolades. So that out of the way, the only reason I say it's overrated is because, especially when there were not that many books out on tarot, now there's many more, but I would still say this is still the case. this is the imagery they use in almost every book on tarot, or close to every book until recent years. And you just get tired of looking at these images, and the text is married so much to these images, and it just all gets a bit too much over time. Now, I do think I understand why these images are used so often in tarot books, and it's because I consider this a textbook deck. It's not a deck I use for readings because it just doesn't stimulate me anymore, just because, just the oversaturation, as I said. But it's great for learning tarot. So it's just a bit of a, problematic for me just to be seeing it everywhere in all the books, and that's why I say it's overrated, not because I don't think it's a wonderful deck. So now, underrated, which was much more fun to choose, and I actually had several choices, but I forced myself to make one choice, and I'm going to say The Dreaming Way. And there's just something about this imagery. I find it beautiful. The clothing is out of this world. It's the best fashion I've ever seen on any tarot deck. And it's not diverse, so it does have that going against it. But, you can't have everything, and I can live with that because, particularly the courts, when the courts come to life, for me, look at this charming Page of Cups. When they come to life and really get, look at this sneaky Page of Swords, spying through her scarf. When they get the idea across, that really turns me on with the tarot deck. Good court cards. But even the majors, this lovely way of this sort of angel taking each hand and possibly bringing them together. And it's very RWS, but there's also a reimagining of some cards. I love this version of the Seven of Pentacles. So this woman's reassessing, should I have spent this much on these purchases, I'm imagining? And how much more do I have to spend? And what should I have saved? So it gives me somewhere to go with my imagination. The suits are almost seasonal in their divisions, like the swords are very wintry, and the coins are autumnal and so forth. Cups are more summery, and wands are spring. So in any case, I just love the fact that these characters all seem to live in the same world. I love storytelling in my tarot reading, and the storytelling is very easy with that deck. Tons of directional figures, which I also love, so very underrated, and I would just say give it a chance. It's easily purchased on Amazon at a decent price. All right, number 7 is decks for light work or shadow work. Something I don't really do, light work or shadow work, but I get the idea of what the question is asking about, and I guess, it's in the title, the light series. Oh, there's my cat Violet saying hi and perhaps bye. In any case, the light series has got to be a light workers deck, and just like the other deck that was non-confrontive, I find these images quite gentle, and even on some of the challenging cards, the creator tends to give you a way out. For instance, here's the anxiety of the Nine of Swords, but she's included this one white bird, so there's a certain amount of hope there. Lots of energy, positive energy in the cards. So yeah, I think this is a great deck for light work, whatever that is. Okay, and so for the last one, shadow work, I would reach for the Stretch Tarot, which is a beautiful collage mixed media deck using very old photographs So there's something mysterious, very evocative, ancestral, jarring on some of the cards, intriguing and creepy, very stabby. Just the fact that these were real people living at a particular time. The deck itself looks fairly dark. This could have been my dark nighttime deck, I suppose. But things aren't really taking place outside. I mean, look at this Nine of Swords. Yowza. So I would use this for shadow work. I mean, this could be stuff that you've been carrying since past lives, etc., etc. This is, by the way, one of my favorite decks. I absolutely love it. So there you go. There's my decks answering this list of questions. I hope you enjoyed that. Love to see yours, and take care for now. Bye.